Welcome back to Drive Your Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Master Coach Carrie Marshall, and it's time to go after those goals.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.
Hey everybody, it's Carrie Marshall, Master Coach here, and today we're going to talk about something that you're not going to like very much. Today we're going to talk about getting really good at being uncomfortable. So I coach so many people on goals, and the one thing that I notice is that every single person that I have personally helped on a goal has had to get uncomfortable at some point during the journey. Going after a goal is not comfortable. You have to do things that maybe you've never done before. You have to go through failures. You have to push hard. You have to meet new people. Like there's all of these different things that might make you uncomfortable. And there's different things that make people uncomfortable. Growing up, I was terrified of talking to strangers. It made me so uncomfortable to talk to strangers. I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again because it's such a good example. When I was about 12 or 13, my mom was really trying to help me get over this like fear of like strangers. And so she asked me if I would call and order pizza. I absolutely refused. I was like, no, that sounds terrible. I'd have to talk to somebody. I don't even know what they're going to ask. I don't know what I have to tell them. I don't know what information they need. And so she kept like bribing me like money and a toy, or I don't know, a book actually. I bet it was a book, and all of these different things. And I was so uncomfortable. But I'm really glad that my mom pushed me to do it. I ended up having to have her write out a script. And when the person on the other end, the person at the pizza place asked me a question I didn't know, I legit started crying. But the cool thing about that is I had to get uncomfortable in order to figure out how to do that. And then of course she made me do it over and over and over again until I could call a stranger and tell them that I would like to order pizza. So when you're going after your goals, you're going to have to get uncomfortable to the place where you're like, I don't know if I can do this. But we have to get really, really good at being uncomfortable, because anytime that you want something that you don't have right now in your life, you're actually going to have to get pretty uncomfortable to get there, because comfort does not move us forward. And this goes for anything. This goes for goals. It goes for relationships. You know, the longer I'm married, the more I realize that when we get comfortable in a relationship, we kind of start to take it for like advantage of it. And maybe we get a little bit more relaxed in the relationship instead of like learning how to be uncomfortable in a relationship to actually grow the relationship. So like Curtis and I, we are not fighters, meaning that we don't like yell at each other or things like that. But what we realized, and this is just like recently, like within the last 3 years that we've been married, is that at some point we've let comfort take over that opportunity, taking that and putting it to the side. Instead of having the opportunity to learn how to grow together, we realized that we had kind of just decided to be comfortable. So we weren't having like crucial conversations that we needed to have. And we weren't willing to like disagree about some really like parenting and things like that, because we were trying to stay comfortable. And so the minute that we kind of shifted that and we decided that our marriage was worth being uncomfortable for, and that our relationship was worth going through the discomfort of like whatever we needed to, the more that we actually started to create a relationship that we both really, really love. And discomfort has absolutely had to be part of that growth. So it's the same when you are thinking about your goal. I want you to just really picture like, what type of discomfort do I need to go through in order to go to the next level? Now, it might be like I just mentioned, like having crucial conversations with people, getting uncomfortable, like telling somebody something. but it also might be like physical discomfort. It might be discomfort to not know something and have to go and research it. It might be the discomfort of being new at something. This is one that I see a lot of my clients go through, is that we haven't really gotten really good at being new at something as adults. And so there's a lot of discomfort when we have to show up and do something new. And so when we talk about the discomfort, I want you to just really remind yourself that discomfort equals progress. When we can get uncomfortable enough and we can still do it, that's when we're actually going to start to create the change that we want for ourselves. So I want to give you another example. I've really been working on my health this year. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was, I have a treadmill and a rower and, a couple of other things, that have all just kind of sat in my office. And so I really wanted to make a workout room. And part of that workout room, I really wanted to have a sauna. So my husband and I found a sauna. We went and set it up. It was super fun. But I realized that I don't do well with discomfort when I started with the sauna. My daughter and I started getting in it, and we would get it. Anybody that saunas is going to think this is hilarious. My daughter and I would get in and we would just kind of put it up to like 95. And we just kind of get comfy and cozy in there. And I'm like, I love to sauna. I can read a book. I can do this. Like, hilarious. I kind of just told her, like, this is more like a heat box. It's like a warming box for a loaf of bread or something. And so my husband finally set up the other thing that we needed. And so then it actually started to be the sauna that we could get to like 130, 140. And the first time I sat in it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so physically uncomfortable. And I lasted like 5 minutes. And so I came out of the sauna and I was like, that's really disappointing. Like, I wasn't willing to endure even 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And so I realized that as I start to really kind of do this next phase of like health and all of that I need to get really good at being uncomfortable physically. And so I started to work on it not only with when I'm in the sauna, but also when I'm doing my workouts as well. And so I've just kind of noticed how much resistance I have to being uncomfortable physically. And so one of the things that I started doing was, now I can do the sauna, but then I also go and jump in our pool. And our pool, we've shut down so it's not heated. Now, it's not like a ice bath. It will become one, but it is enough for me to be really uncomfortable throughout this whole process. And I love the process of being uncomfortable because here's the thought that I always go to. This is temporary. I think that so often we try and get out of discomfort because all of us, like, our brains are screaming at us that this is not supposed to be happening. Whether it's talking to the pizza guy on the phone and we don't know what to say, or we're getting physically uncomfortable, or our relationships. But discomfort never feels good. That's why it's called discomfort or uncomfortable, because it's never going to be something that our brain is like all on board for. Our thoughts are really going to go to like, this is terrible. I don't know why we're here. Like, I shouldn't be here. This is awful. Like, all of those thoughts are going to go through your head. And you really have to go back to like, but why am I doing this? And then remind yourself that it's so temporary. Now, I know that we go through uncomfortable things that are actually long-term. I know that some of us have relationships that are long-term uncomfortable. I have some friends that are divorced and they say like, this is uncomfortable most of the time with my ex. But we have to kind of remember that really, even those types of things are temporary. We're going to have times where we do have kind of that brief relief from it. We are going to have times that we see that we have gotten over that obstacle and that now that thing that used to be so hard isn't hard anymore. In such a short time, I've been able to like not just use the sauna as a warming box, but I've also like been able to actually like sit in there for 130 degrees for 20 minutes and then go and jump in the pool and then come back. And like, but I've had to learn how to be really good at being uncomfortable. And that's what you're going to need to do too. As you go after your goals, you're going to need to learn how to be uncomfortable. I've watched my clients this year go through a lot of discomfort. I've had clients go through some really hard, challenging things that they intentionally put themselves through to get themselves to their next goal. And, it's been through entrepreneur journeys. It's been through writing books and becoming authors. There's so many different things that I've watched. And from the sideline, what I wanted to kind of remind you is that as you're going through discomfort, not always, but sometimes you have people that you're actually showing up for and being an example to. I look at like my physical journey, and I have somebody in my life that I have always looked up to. It's my sister-in-law, Ashley, and she, number one, has a rockin' body because she takes very good care of herself. She eats very intentionally, but always and forever, she is my example of putting herself in uncomfortable situations in order to hit the next thing, whether it is climbing peaks, biking crazy places, any type of adventure Ashley is up for. And I've just always been very grateful that she might not see it, but when I'm watching her do something uncomfortable, she is such an example to me. And so the last thing that I want to kind of encourage you is to remember that even though you're the one that's doing the uncomfortable thing, you might be an example to somebody else. You need to remember that there's always people watching. And it's so crazy to me because I think that sometimes we forget this. I have people come and they say stuff like, well, I'm just a mom. And I'm like, yeah, but you're a mom that has kids that are watching. Oh, I'm just this low-level employee. Yes, you are an entry-level employee, but there's other people that are watching. I had one of my clients come and say like, I'm just this entry-level employee and I don't know what to do. And I want to be seen. And I said, do some uncomfortable things. And so he started to look for these uncomfortable things to do within the office. And he said one of the things that he decided to do was like, take out the trash at the lunch, like they have like a little lunch area. And he's like, it is always overflowing. Nobody ever does anything with it. And so he started to do that. And then he started to like clean out the fridge. Now this was uncomfortable for him because he's like, I don't want people to think I'm the janitor, but also I don't want people to think that I'm like I'm owning the place. Like he's like, I want to kind of just make sure that I'm in the boundaries of like what people, and I said, well, you can totally do things until somebody tells you to stop. But it was interesting because what happened was the boss was watching, and the boss started to see this guy show up for work, not only do a really good job with his own job, but then also see holes where like he wanted to take care of the building and take care of people and all of that. And so he got promoted really fast. And that's what the boss said. So always remember that when we're getting good at being uncomfortable, it's not just for you. You never know who you're going to be the example for. And so there's so many lasting benefits for not only you, but it's that ripple effect that happens when we start to do those uncomfortable things, have the conversations, take the action, do the thing that is going to be scary for a little bit and be uncomfortable. Because when we can be uncomfortable, that's what shows us what we are capable of. Now, I want you to come over to Instagram. My handle is Drive Your Thoughts Coaching. And I want you to tell me a time that you've been uncomfortable. Tell me that time that you've been uncomfortable to make that goal happen. That time that you've had that really hard conversation and it really paid off for you. Because I think that when we can actually start to like show people that uncomfortable and discomfort is actually the currency of our dreams, we can all start to create something really awesome. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to get in the driver's seat of your own life, you can come and follow me at Drive Your Thoughts Coaching on Instagram, or come and see more ways to work with me at driveyourthoughts.com.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.